Sometimes when there's been a break in astrology videos or the content that I put out there on YouTube, and I had something personal going on for much of the week, you always wonder what is the best way or the most effective way to get back on track. And kind of a fail-safe way, of course, is to just kind of look ahead for a week and use that as an opportunity to give everyone a heads up of what is coming up over the next week, and particularly at this particular time, and also reflect very briefly on the energy of the last week. And with the last week, the last video I did was pretty much attempted to cover it with Mars and Venus conjuncting Pluto, Mars and Venus entering the sign of Aquarius and conjuncting Pluto, the North Node and Chiron conjuncting, and whatever that was about. I think it was expanding on the Aquarius new moon, I think, on February the 9th. We are, as we look ahead, and then of course, once this kind of overview is established, once we have a sense of the lay of the land, I can always do more specific or more detailed videos on specific transits and aspects. So as we look ahead for the week, there are three things I think three sort of major astrological highlights. One is that Venus and Mars conjunct in a couple of days on the 21st of February. The second is the fact that starting today, the personal planets start to move into the sign of Pisces. The Sun enters Pisces today, and Mercury enters Pisces on the 22nd of February. And I know the dates are always, if you're not careful, these videos can just sound like an inventory of dates. So, and the third thing, of course, is that we have the full moon in Virgo on the 24th. So on the 21st, we've got Venus conjunct Mars in Aquarius. Shortly after, a few days after, a week after, they conjuncted Pluto as they entered the sign of Aquarius. Then we have, of course, the Sun entering Pisces today, Mercury following the Sun on the 22nd, and they conjunct each other and Saturn on the 28th. Now, the 20th takes us a little bit further out. It takes us about 10 days out, but I'm going to go ahead and give you that heads up. When something like that happens, it's important on multiple levels. First and foremost, I've mentioned to you, and you can search for this video in my list of videos, I've mentioned to you that even though at this point in time, all the planets that are transiting for the most part are in Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. 4 signs at this point in time. But even though Venus has left the sign of Capricorn and entered Aquarius over the last week, we've still got the sign of Capricorn. And when I say the sign of Capricorn, as most of you know, what I really mean is the house occupied by the sign of Capricorn in your birth chart. So what is that house? What does it stand for? That house is like one of the burners on a stove on which there's a pot that's going to continue to simmer till the end of this year. As you all know, Pluto comes back into Capricorn to finish up its transit since 2008. By the end of this year, we've got 2 full moons in Capricorn in June and July. And of course, through April, I'm going backwards, we've got the Mercury cycle in Capricorn, which means that through April, or till, I don't want to get too datey, but let me see if I can quickly find you, till April 11th, to be specific, till April 11th. We've got the Mercury cycle, which means that till April 11th, communications and transactions related to where Capricorn sits in the chart remain important. And a particular phase of that Mercury cycle also ends on the 28th, when the Sun and Mercury conjunct while Mercury is direct. Then Mercury is going to move forward from the Sun, retrograde, and conjunct the Sun. When a Mercury retrograde Sun conjunction happens, a new Mercury cycle is created. That will be on April the 11th in the sign of Aries. So as we look ahead, I don't mind quite looking that far ahead, because And remember, these are not detailed videos on each of these transits. They are really meant to be an overview. So as we look ahead about 10 days, we're looking at the Sun and Mercury and Saturn conjuncting in the sign of Pisces. As the personal planets move into the sign of Pisces, and by that I mean the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, there are two aspects that they will be making. They will be conjuncting Saturn and they will be conjuncting Neptune. From within the sign of Pisces, they really are not making any aspects to other parts of it. But I have mentioned to you a few videos ago that we are now in conjunction season. And even in the sign of Aquarius, while the personal planets transiting through Aquarius not only conjunct Pluto, but they square Jupiter in Taurus, trine the South Node in Libra, then square Uranus in Taurus. And when you look at the videos I've done about the planets transiting Aquarius and the new moon in Aquarius, you'll see those in my past few videos. You can delve into greater depth there. I am finding that the most significant of these four aspects made by the personal planets as they go through Aquarius is the conjunction with Pluto. And that too I've addressed in a previous video. I know that there's a lot of I've addressed things in the previous video. I hope you understand that when we do videos, astrology related content, you can't do it as if it's coming out of nowhere. You know, the transits are coming from somewhere and going somewhere. So you can't not refer to what has gone on before and what has been going on. If we look at this past week, and if you want an anchor for that, you can look at the last video I did. The Mars-Pluto conjunction on the 13th, followed by the Venus-Pluto conjunction yesterday on the 17th. Have ended up being kind of headline news, have ended up being game changers, so to speak, or it's like a new paradigm shift. It's a significant change. When I did the video on the Sun and Pluto conjuncting and marching hand in hand into the sign of Aquarius around January 20th, I think, and we talked about transits through the sign of Aquarius, we've talked about the conjunctions with Pluto and the timing of it. From my perspective, the more urgent thing still seems to be wrapping up Pluto's transit through Capricorn. And so paying attention to the transformation that Pluto has been making in the sign of Capricorn in your birth chart, the house occupied by Capricorn, and what that stands for, and what transformation Pluto has been making since 2008, and really focusing on wrapping that up so that you're not handed some sort of catastrophe, Plutonian catastrophe, to force you to make that transformation. Let go of what you need to let go. And with Pluto, I find the transformation is for your benefit. What has been interesting, because it's not as if Pluto has not entered Aquarius briefly last year in 2023. It enters Aquarius again this year, retrogrades back into Capricorn. And it's really starting 2025 that this Pluto Aquarius transit, really gets started in earnest in a totally clean way, taking us forward about 18 years. So at that point in time. So right now, with the 2024 Pluto entry into Aquarius, what has been so notable is that Pluto has entered Aquarius hand in hand with the Sun. And of course, shortly after that, because the personal planets right now, Mercury, Venus, Mars, have been following the Sun, all of those planets have been able to conjunct Pluto in the very first degree, in the very early degrees of Aquarius. And as a result of which, there's the sense this particular Aquarius season, this particular month of Aquarius, as you look from the new moon in Aquarius to the new moon in Pisces, I think it's like February 9th to March the 10th or something like that. And again, my last few videos will cover it. There I go again. There's almost the sense of, and I really think that the first entry of Pluto, if you're paying attention, really does declare that the transformation is beginning and the transformation has begun. And I think the fact that in 2024, the personal planets get to kind of high five Pluto or sit and have tea with Pluto or have a conversation with Pluto as they move forward means that the agenda for the transformation is set and there is this kind of paradigm shift. I also discussed that the Mercury conjunct Pluto especially has this kind of raise what needs to be raised to the ground, has this kind of paradigm shift energy, has this kind of what needs to be constructed. And so if something needs to be constructed, and I refer you back to my last video, what needs to be de-weeded, what needs to be destroyed, what needs to be pulled down so that a new edifice can be created. And then Venus, of course, coming in after that. So Mars conjunct Pluto has an element of violence to it. I mean, I'm being polite. What two planets are you going to look at to indicate violence other than Mars and Pluto? And the violence does not have to be someone attacking you. It can be a bodily thing with Mars bleeding and surgeries and cuts and incisions and, you know, sometimes in Jyotish it is when it comes to sort of Mars, there's this thing of, you know, you'll have a cut or you'll be stabbed. There's a potential for being stabbed. I'm talking in very sort of traditional or old-fashioned astrological ways, but somehow the body being attacked. You know, Mars is the planet, as you know, of desire and pursuing goals and setting boundaries, but it's also conflict in a certain sense and injury. And Pluto, of course, the planet of transformation, but really traditionally, well, not traditionally. That's the wrong word. When I say traditionally, I mean in terms of sort of the Greek mythic archetype of, you know, Pluto, and it is the planet of death and transformation. So you've got this red planet, Mars, meeting up with this dark transformational energy, Pluto, in the first half of last week. And then you've got Venus coming in going, finances, relationships, harmony, and also to some extent a kind of a peaceful energy. And now I look at next week, and the very first thing we have to look at for this coming week, of course, is the Venus-Mars conjunction. And it's hard not to use this much used word of healing. But with astrology, I'm going to say something that I think is really important. None of us is going to be given a telegram of what is going to happen before it's going to happen. No matter how many readers you talk to, no matter how many people you consult with, no matter how many... This has been very much on my own mind this last week as I've seen these transits unfold, for example, in my own life. And I've been, again, you know, I'm kind of amazed that things unfold in certain ways sometimes. And I maintain a kind of skeptical outlook. But then when things happen in a way that feel unmistakable, it always kind of takes my breath away. But I, as an astrologer, you as astrologers or astrology enthusiasts or people who maybe seek out people for, you can do whatever you need to, but we're not put here to be given a heads up of something that is going to occur before it occurs. And if that's what we're looking for, it's not going to happen. We're not that, no one is that special that you're going to be told, hey, letting you know 3 days in advance that this is going to happen in 3 days' time, and this is what it's going to look like, and this is exactly how it's going to roll out. I am very wary of videos posted that say, this event happened, and you know what? The chart said it would happen, and let's look back now and see this and this and this. And I'm just like, sometimes it just feels like forced justification. I think it's more interesting to experience things, see if there's a correlation, and marvel at the fact. As I said to you, the three things that keep bringing me back to astrology in a very simple, basic way is how accurate Mercury retrograde shenanigans can be, and this is in no particular order, the energy around new moons and full moons and the sort of lunar monthly cycle, and the fact that if I look at where the moon is in my birth chart transiting and where the moon is transiting in my lunar return chart, I can see events related to those two parts of the chart play out as sort of the predominant energy in any part of the chart. I mean, I can't make it up. And so when we look at Mars conjuncting Pluto, and then Venus conjuncting Pluto, and I cover these and the other, and the North Node conjuncting Chiron. Now, it's an open question as to whether the North Node conjuncted Chiron this last week or if it's going to conjunct it in early March, and that has something to do with the way people calculate the North Node. It's a calculated point, but close enough. I can certainly, again, I don't want to keep talking about myself, but that's it. It has been a transformational week where the last two, when the Sun and Pluto conjuncted on January the 20th, they conjuncted in Capricorn. On February the 5th, Mercury conjuncted Pluto and communicatively started the transformation that Pluto had set in its agenda. After that, during the course of last week, Mercury, the winged messenger, squared Jupiter, trying the North Node, squared Uranus, and is on its way into Pisces, following the Sun in a few days. Venus and Mars have now conjuncted Pluto and will carry on with their transits through Aquarius. And this last week, the conversations, the announcement of the agenda, the breaking ground, ritual, ceremony, the taking the champagne bottle, so to speak, and crashing it against the hull of a ship. That sounds, and I want to be careful of that analogy because that almost sounds a little too cheerful. For some of us, the Mars-Pluto transit and then the Venus-Pluto transit will not be quite so festive. In fact, might be quite challenging and quite, whatever it is that's being raised to the ground and whatever paradigm shift is being created, and whatever opportunity it creates with regard to transformation in the Aquarius part of your chart. For some people, with especially the Mars-Pluto transit conjunction, it could be quite heavy. It could be quite serious. But creating the space and breaking the foundation and identifying the structures that need to be brought down, and even bring down those structures was very much of what has been going on last week, with a kind of a quick, with Venus coming in, going, all right, kind of a sprinkling of, not fairy dust, but a sprinkling of a certain type of harmony and workability over the explosiveness of Mars and Pluto. But in both those cases, there's fundamentally a transformation with regard to how and where you're going to expend energy and pursuing goals and managing conflict, and how you're going to direct any energy related to relationships and finances, especially, and opportunities in the Aquarius part of the chart. And you may find, looking back 19 years, for those of us who are going to be lucky enough to be around in 19 years, just as we may find by the end of 2024 that when we look at the transformation in the Capricorn part of the chart, we may be able to clearly identify how the agenda was set in 2008 related to the Capricorn part of the chart. Similarly, we may come back to this year, and particularly this time, February of 2024, and see how the agenda for the next 19 odd years, with regard to what is transforming in the Aquarius part of our chart, what houses occupy it, what it stands for, has been set over the last week. Well, okay. Now, coming to this once and for all, leaving last week behind with regard to discussion and focusing on this coming week, some of the things I've already talked about. When we, there you are, slide. When we look at this next week, with the Venus-Mars conjunction, classically, an aspect of consummation, agreements to some extent, handshakes, relationships. As I've told you, with that Venus-Mars conjunction, it goes back to July of, it could be, part of the challenge of approaching, a lot of how things feel right now is going to depend on where Aquarius and Pisces sit in your chart what houses they occupy, and what the relationship is between those two houses. In certain cases, events that occur in the house before directly influence the house after, first and second house, third and fourth house if it comes to neighborhoods and residents sometimes, seventh and eighth house, ninth and 10th house, goals and career, sometimes 12th and first house. There are also succeeding houses where it's kind of harder to see that correlation sometimes, and there may not be one. Not every house is sort of directly dependent on the house before. With the first and the second and the seventh and the eighth, and to some extent the ninth and the 10th, these things are quite clear, and then 12th and the first. If that is the case, the one of the energy shifts, because the sun is moving into Pisces today, 5 or 6 days ago, we're going to have started to feel the solar entrance and the light start to enter the Pisces part of the chart. It would not surprise me at all. When I have done videos so far this entire year for the most part, but certainly starting that Capricorn new moon in January, I have told you that as we head towards February the 20th, things will start to become more serious. So some of the unalloyed expansiveness of January and February and welcoming 2024 in and planting seeds of 2024 this past week as we've headed towards the sun entering the sign of Pisces will now start to get tempered with a kind of reality check, and things become serious. The expansiveness does not leave us because during the course of the week, we still have Venus conjuncting Mars, Venus squaring Jupiter, Mars squaring Jupiter, which means that Venus and Mars continue the conversation from last week into this coming week. They conjunct and they square, which means whatever activity related to Venus and Mars needs to be completed in the Aquarius part of the chart will allow Jupiter in the Taurus part of the chart to do his job of ending a 12-13-year cycle and starting a 12-13-year cycle in the Taurus part of the chart. So our energy around pursuing goals, our ability to forge agreements and partnerships, and hopefully find win-win solutions, reconciliation to some extent, that kind of theme based on some of the things that have been going on last week remains. And not only that, when it comes to goal pursuit, as I've mentioned to you in the videos I've done about the Aquarius transits, there's something critically important. The new moon in Aquarius said urgency. We still maintain building, taking action, pursuing goals, setting boundaries, seeking partnerships, healthy contracts, positive, mutually beneficial financial and relationship opportunities, healing, solutions, not only this coming week, especially with regard to taking actions that will free Jupiter to do his job in the Taurus part of the chart, the house occupied by Taurus and what it stands for. The actions are being taken in the Aquarius part of the chart. But some of this constructive, forward-moving, building the new energy continues till March the 25th or so, where all the planets are forward-moving. Technically, the next planet that's going to due to go retrograde will be Mercury out of the personal planets on April the 1st. So you could argue that till April the 1st, it's still keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, keep building, keep planting seeds, keep taking action, keep pursuing goals. That certainly remains a theme until then. So we don't have to lose heart. If starting next week, the energies have already started to go from what do I need to do to pursue my goals in 2024 to, oh crap, now I've got the Pisces part of the chart really making its presence felt. And now I've got to do that Two of Pentacles thing in the Tarot of juggling these two energies, growth in 2024 and paying attention to what is going on in the Pisces part of the chart, where there has been a crisis brewing since 2014, 15, 16. And as the sun enters And as Mercury enters, and as in 10 days' time, they get ready to conjunct Saturn. But even before that, by the time we talk about the Virgo full moon on the 24th, that Virgo full moon, the moon is in Virgo, opposite Mercury and the Sun and Saturn. And it's not a wide, that's where it's at. That Virgo full moon that we're heading towards on the 24th, in roughly a week's time, that is there's a reckoning characteristic to it. Our emotional and intuitive awareness is really going to be looking at that Mercury, Sun, Saturn conjunction in Pisces. And the Pisces part of the chart, you're going to be very alert to the Pisces part of the chart, as I said, is where we've had some sort of a crisis, even a feeling of deception, even a feeling of loss, murkiness, gaslighting, people not telling the truth completely, hiding things, all that kind of stuff. And even over the last 5 days, as the Sun is entering the Pisces part of the chart, this is getting illuminated. With Mercury getting ready to enter the Pisces part of the chart, communications around it start. By the time you get to Saturn, as I've mentioned to everybody, as challenging as Saturn is, I'm happy to see Saturn in Pisces because it is at least concrete. At least there's something real and potentially solution-oriented to deal with, at least as a way of managing things in the Pisces part of the chart, which is an energy we have not had in this part of the chart at all. So our energy with regard to where time goes gets split. There's still the opportunity in the Aquarius part of the chart that I would like everybody to get back to after the kind of rocking motion that we have been through, after the paradigm shift we went through last week. Get back on track. Some of the energies with Venus and Mars conjuncting and squaring Jupiter over the next week continue to provide, if you felt that somehow this kind of shift or bifurcation of energies in the last week distracted you, started to pull you away from what you felt you needed to work on in the Aquarius part of the chart, you can still put your energy into the Aquarius part of the chart to construct and pursue goals related to 2024 and to allow Jupiter to continue to create its ending of a 12-13-year cycle, start of a 12-13-year cycle in the Taurus part of the chart. Even though the Sun and Mercury are moving into Pisces, we are in the Aquarius month till March the 10th. The Virgo full moon on the 24th is going to be related directly to the Pisces new moon 2 weeks after. And the Pisces part of the chart, like the Capricorn part of the chart, is a part of the chart where there's going to be a pot on the stove, not only till the end of next year now, but till the beginning of 2026. What we experience in the Pisces part of the chart through April in 2024 is a beginning, another kind of groundbreaking. The planets are going to conjunct Saturn, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Then they will conjunct Neptune, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars in Pisces. It's like laying the table for what is going to be. It's like, okay, this time around in 2024, we're really going to start the process of managing and handling the bleeding or the whatever needs to be cleaned up in the Pisces part of the chart so that it does not sabotage or affect us anymore in pursuing the goals that we're trying to pursue in the Aries and Taurus part of the chart. With actions being taken in the Aquarius part of the chart to especially free up Jupiter and Uranus in the Taurus part of the chart and contribute to the eclipses on the Aries-Libra axis by trining Libra, the South Node in Libra. I'm talking about the planets going through Aquarius at this point in time, Venus and Mars, squaring Jupiter this week, and beyond that, trining the South Node in Libra and squaring Uranus. The planets in Pisces, I know I repeat, but it's helpful, will conjunct Saturn and Neptune. Over the past 5 days, we've started to feel the energy accumulating and building in the Pisces part of the chart, depending, I'm starting to summarize now, depending on where Aquarius and Pisces sit in your chart, there may be a correlation, like there is if it's happening in your first and second houses, seventh and eighth house, or to some extent ninth and 10th house, or 12th and first house. Some of the manifestations, some of the paradigm shift in the first house is leading to greater awareness of what that creates and the conversations with Saturn and Neptune in the next house. As the sun illuminates the first few degrees of Pisces, and as Mercury comes in to not only communicate, but more importantly, as we head towards the full moon, but especially as we head towards the 28th of February, be in communication with the sun. Mercury is starting to communicate with the sun and download our cognitive, our communication, our understanding of what is going on, our minds being able to make sense of what is going on, that and what the sun wants Mercury to do, what our higher self is saying to our cognitive and communicative ability, starts to discernment of what is true and what is not true, and what are we told, and what contracts are we being put in front of us, and what do we want to say. And on the one hand, it's the end of a milestone related to the Capricorn communication cycle. On the other hand, because it's happening in the sign of Pisces, there's also this sense of yet another inauguration of energies in the sign of Pisces this time in 2024, where there has to be this initial communication of what is on the agenda, what has been messy, what are we trying to sort out, what needs to be taken care of, what phone calls need to be made. And it could be multiple things related to, wherever Aquarius sits in your chart. There could be themes related to expansiveness and how they can support Jupiter in Taurus. And there could be, because in any house, there are multiple themes. There could be multiple types of people. It doesn't just have to be the one thing. So as we head into next week, three distinct energies. One in the Aquarius part of the chart, Venus-Mars conjunct, and then they square Jupiter. They conjunct in Aquarius, they remain in Aquarius, they square Jupiter in Taurus. The Venus-Mars conjunction could very much be in communication with the Mars-Pluto conjunction last week on the 13th of February, the Venus-Pluto conjunction on the 17th of February, and Mars and Pluto then conjunct on the 21st. And as I said, on the 24th, Venus squares Jupiter. On the 27th, Mars squares Jupiter. Number two, we have the Sun and Mercury entering Pisces, something we have already started to feel about 5 odd days ago, as the Sun has started to make this entry into Pisces. On the 28th, the Sun, Mercury, and Saturn will conjunct. And as the next 10 days progress, the Pisces part of the chart and the fact that action needs to be taken, communication needs to start, and we are starting the heavy but necessary. And ultimately, I'm going to believe that because we're dealing with the realism of Saturn in a part of a chart that has not been manageable easily, that it will ultimately be helpful. But already, just with these two factors, we're dealing with managing these two parts of the chart, the expansiveness in the Aquarius part of the chart, and the let's start to deal with the Pisces energy and crap in the Pisces part of the chart. I think the sun is going to be setting in a couple of minutes, that it's all getting darker and darker, so I'm going to wrap this up. The third thing, which is related to the sun and Mercury entering Pisces, of course, is that on the 24th, we have the full moon in Virgo, where the moon is going to be fully illuminated, looking at the Sun, Mercury, Saturn in Pisces. I will be doing more videos, of course, as we get closer to some of these transits to talk about them. But this should give you a sense of, if I were to summarize things in one sentence, it would be, it is now time to start to juggle those two things. Expansiveness in the Aquarius part of the chart. Don't lose heart if you feel like you haven't made enough progress. You've still got a lot of firepower there. Got Venus and Mars conjunct. Be in communication. Get back on the horse after the kind of rollicking Mars-Pluto conjunction last week. Don't lose heart. Got Venus and Mars, for God's sakes, conjuncting and squaring Jupiter and getting ready to trine the North Node and getting ready to square Uranus. It's alive. We're still in the Aquarius new moon month. In the Pisces part of the chart, energies are preparing, but they're strong enough that you're going to feel and know that you have got to start working on sorting out the Pisces part of the chart and bringing some order and structure to it and seeing what the results are and seeing what some of the karma is playing out in that part, what some of the result, what is real, what has been going on, and start to deal with it and use it to stop the energetic leaking and bleeding. Because when things are unclear and you're dealing with themes of loss and deception, it takes a certain amount of your energy. Saturn, by grounding and making things more real, as challenging as that is going to be, is going to help try and create some sort of a foundation there that you can build on as well. And energies will continue to escalate as this week continues. There's potential for a certain amount of drama, and they will become unwieldy. There'll be more to do. There's room and a chance to be productive, but as you head towards that full moon, the energies start to become so, everything starts to become so heightened that it can be hard to kind of remain in this productive space, because your intuitive and your emotional system is just going to start to expand in awareness. And it's going to try and make sense of what it is that is building and going on in the Pisces part of the chart, especially as we look ahead to what we're going to have to focus on really in the Pisces part of the chart after the new moon in Pisces on March the 10th. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm losing the light and I don't want to turn on this light. I really love doing videos when I have natural light, but I will leave it at that. And if you found this video helpful, useful, share it, talk about it. If you are interested in a personal reading, my email address is going to be in the description area below. You can reach out to me there. I can give you information. Feel free to share the video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click on the bell icon, the wiggly bell next to the subscribe button. You'll be notified when I do new videos. My sincere gratitude to the folks who've been leaving comments and liking the videos. It gives it more circulation on YouTube. I am so grateful. All right, have a productive week, and by all means process what this last week has brought. All right.